This is a tutorial on how to create a case in electronics, specifically for your USB power supply in this case, using the program Creo Parametric, as you see above here. So the way the program starts off is you actually have to select a working directory, where you're going to work from. So when I click Select Working Directory, I'm going to come up with my username and my name, Documents, School, Creo, and I'm going to create a folder here. You can see there's a couple actually here, USB and USB Power. I'm going to right mouse click and just go New Folder, and I'm going to call this one USB_case. Right? And I'm going to click OK. Now it just sets up a folder that I'm going to work in. Make sure it's on your L drive and not the C drive, because if it's on the L drive, it will be there next day. If it's on the C drive, you're going to lose everything on the network in the school. So once I've set up my folder, I click OK. Now again, there's nothing on the screen yet. I'm going to click on New. I'm going to put Part, and in this case there's going to be two parts to my project. There's going to be a base that the transformer is going to sit on, and then there's going to be a case or enclosure that goes around it. So I'm going to type in the name base and click OK. So now the program starts off. There's a few more things on here, and there's a lot of stuff here that you just don't need to know about right now. So the main things are, you have this is 3D, so when I move around you can see these different surfaces kind of move all over the place. If I press Control D, it reorientates them back to the beginning. So this is my top plane. So if I was to view something from the top, this is my front plane to view it from the front, and of course this is my right plane if I was going to view it from the right. So I'm going to draw from the top. So I'm going to click on the plane, and you can see it goes green, and I'm going to select up here Sketch. And when I do so, what it does is it puts these reference lines in, which are basically through the center of all the planes, and it comes up with all the drawing tools now up top here. So to make it easier to draw, I'm going to click on this icon right here, which is called Sketch View. And what it does, it puts into 2D. So now that I have it in 2D, I'm going to draw my basic box. So I'm going to come up to here to the rectangle tool. I'm going to click on the little arrow and go to Center Rectangle. And then if you notice, I can actually click on these reference lines. That actually snaps to it, or clicks on it, puts a little circle there. It's maybe hard to see. Okay, so I'm going to click Dead Center, and I'm going to grab my rectangle, and I'm just going to draw it any size. Doesn't really matter, as long as it's a rectangle like this. And it puts in some dimensions. Right, now I want to modify these dimensions, so what I do is I come over to here to the big select arrow, click on it. Now it goes yellow to say it's okay, it's ready to be modified. So I'm going to take it, the dimension, double click with my left mouse button, and I'm going to change it to 2 for 2 inches. Whoops, that's 21, sorry. Put it to 2. And then on the height, I'm going to change this one to 3. Now depending on your project and the size of your transformer and your circuit board, it might need to be a little bigger, might need to be a bit smaller. But I'm going to use this as a starting point. So here's my basic outline, and what I'm going to add now are the 2 holes for the prongs on the transformer to go through. So again, I'm going to go back to the rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle, and then I'm going to hit the select tool. So now it's all encased, and what I'm going to do is I want to put another one on this other side identical. So first I'm going to do is select a center line. Okay, and what that does is lets me click on the reference line, the blue dashes, and you can see when I kind of come over here there's a line now, and I'm going to put it right up and down and select it. Then I'm going to highlight, using the select tool, the dimensions, and I can modify these later, but I'm just going to show you what to do here. And I'm going to come up and go mirror, and then it's going to ask me down at the bottom here, select a center line. So I'm going to select this line here, and it mirrors it. Now what's cool about this program is, as I zoom in, and I'm just scrolling with my left mouse, or with the center mouse button, and if I hold the shift key down and I click on the left mouse button, or sorry, the center mouse scroll, I can move it around. So I'm just going to move it a bit closer now, and I can now modify all these dimensions. So for example, how about what happens if the actual distance from this prong here to the inside of the prong here is only ½ an inch? So I can take this and put 0.5. Okay, or sorry, not 0.5, half of that, 0.25. Okay, and I'm just going to zoom in again. Hold the shift key down, hold the scroll mouse key down, and move it again. Now what happens if the height of this is really only 0.25? So I select that. Okay, and for some reason it wants to zoom in on me. And then the width here, which is right here, maybe it's only 0.05. Okay, now I've got my slots done. Now the height off of here, and I'm going to zoom into this a bit. Okay, so the height from the edge of my plastic to here needs to be calculated carefully. So what you want to do is measure from here to the very edge of your transformer. And if it's maybe a quarter or an eighth of an inch, so 0.125, I also want to leave another eighth of an inch for the thickness of the plastic for the lid that's going to go on here later. So I'm going to leave this at 0.25, and I might need to modify it later. You'll have to measure yours to figure out what this distance is. So it'll be from here, it'll be down a bit for the plastic, 0.125, and then the distance from this prong to your edge of your transformer. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. These numbers are set pretty good, and the last thing I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to put a couple screw holes in, I think. So what I'm going to do on the lid is I'm going to put a couple circles. Okay, so this is center circle, and when I do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the Alt key down, and I'm going to select, okay, let me actually go back to this again. So I'm going to click on the circle, and I'm going to hold the Alt key down, and I'm going to hopefully, oh, it's not going to want to do that on me. Tell you what, I'm going to go back to this, and we're going to leave it at this, and we'll come back to it later. So there's all that stuff done. I've got those done, and again, if I select this guy, and maybe we got to hang on a second. Let's go select this. I can select that. So go my circle, and I'm going to click on here, and it doesn't want to do it right now. Weird. So let's go back and say forget it, we'll do it later. We're going to click OK. Okay, now what I have is a sketch. Now what I'm going to do is when I click on it, and you can see over here it's highlighted. If I click somewhere else it's not. Click on it, highlight it, I'm going to go extrude. What it does is it lofts it or extrudes it higher. And I'm going to default this to 0.125 of an inch, and 0.125 is 1/8. Okay, and I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to click OK. So there's my first piece to start off with. Okay. Now let's say I wanted to round the edges, okay, because I don't want my box to be a square. Okay, what I can do is by extrude, I click on it, I go to sketch, I right mouse click, and I go edit definition. Okay, and now what I can do is I'm going to zoom in a bit, okay, and I'm going to take this edge and I'm going to round it. So I'm going to click on this tool here, okay, and I'm going to go to circular, okay, and actually circular trim. And I'm going to take this edge, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to click on this edge, and you can see it rounds over. I'm going to go around to this one over here, and this one. It does the same thing. Okay, I'm going to hold the shift key down when I do this. I'm holding the shift key down and the center scroll button to move it. Click on this one and this one, and then this one and this one. Okay, now you notice that they're actually all different sizes. Okay, if I zoom out a bit, see 0.12, 0.12, 0.16, and whatever. What I can do is I can come up to this one here, which is equals. Okay, and I can click on it, and I'm going to go around, I'm going to click that one and this one, and you see how it kind of changes it. And I'm going to click on this guy down here, and I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can see this. Click on this guy, okay, and it says R1 there, and you'll notice in a second when I go back, click on this one as my last one, so it says R1, R1, and when I come up to here, you'll see it says R1 here and R1. They're all the same. And now if I take this distance here, okay, and I'm sorry, I got to hit select, and I take this, if I put 0.25, which is a quarter of an inch, it rounds all of them at the same time. I'm just going to hide all this stuff so you can see this. Okay, so you can see it how they've all been rounded. If I change it again, I can put it back, put it 0.5, rounds it even more. So this can kind of have you decide how rounded your case is going to be. Okay, so I'm going to go back to maybe 0.25. Okay, hit OK. Now I click on OK, and now I have my piece with the rounded edges. And this is the base, and again, the prongs are going to fit through there, the transformer will fit right here, and the circuit board is going to fit here, and eventually the USB plug was going to come out the bottom. Okay, but this is just the base piece. So I'm going to stop there for part one. I want to save it, so I'm going to click Save. Okay, and you can see it's on a USB case. It's called base part, and you click OK, and I've saved it. So I'm going to stop there for part one of the tutorial.